You're listening to Mia Horror Stories, and today's story is My Girlfriend Keeps Texting Me, but She Died Last Year. The screen will stay completely black, letting your imagination do all the work. No visuals, no noise, just a story that creeps under your skin. Don't skip a second, because every detail builds to the chilling end you won't want to miss. The first text comes in while I'm elbow deep in dishwater. It's nothing dramatic. No buzzing storm of notifications. Just one soft chime from the phone on the counter, the kind that gets swallowed by the faucet, and the refrigerator motor if you're not listening for it. I am, though, I always am. My hands smell like garlic and cheap lemon soap. The apartment is warm from the oven I forgot to turn off for a minute after the frozen lasagna. Outside, the streetlight in front of my building keeps doing that thing where it flares brighter, then settles, an old bulb trying to decide whether it wants to live another night. Somewhere below, a delivery scooter coughs and rattles away. The only other sound is the steady shush of water and the faint, muffled laugh track from the TV I left on in the living room like company. I dry my fingers on my jeans and lean over the counter. Unknown number. You still leave the oven on. The screen glows too white in the kitchen. The message sits there with that casual lowercase that makes it feel familiar. Like someone trying not to make a big deal. Like someone texting from across the room. I stare at it longer than I should. My thumb hovers, then taps the top. There's no saved name, no photo, just digits. An area code I recognize because I've lived in this city long enough to see it on flyers and spam calls. And hey, is this still available? Messages from Craigslist years ago. My first thought is the simplest, wrong number, or a creep. Or one of those scammy texts that start normal, then turn into a link. But the words, the specific little jab. I do leave the oven on, not because I'm irresponsible, because I'll get distracted and forget I'm cooking, forget I'm in my own kitchen, forget I'm in my own skin, and the smell of something heating will snap me back like a rubber band to the wrist. I glance at the oven without thinking, and see the orange 350 still lit. Jesus, I mutter, and twist the knob until it clicks off. The apartment exhales. The fan winds down. The sudden quiet feels like someone stepping out of a room. I pick up the phone again like it might be hot. The message is time stamped 1 minute ago. My mouth is dry. I swallow and taste salt from the dishwater spray. I'm about to hit block on instinct when another bubble appears. Unknown number, don't block me. Just tell me you're okay. That one lands differently. Not because it's scary, because it's intimate, because it assumes a conversation has been happening somewhere that I missed. I set the phone down face up like it might vanish if I don't keep an eye on it. My name is Evan Mercer, 32, and I live in a third-floor walk-up in South Boston that is always either too hot or too cold, depending on which way the wind decides to bully the old windows. I work as a project coordinator for a small construction outfit that mostly renovates offices for people who think exposed brick is a personality. I'm the guy who schedules dumpsters and permits and tells subcontractors where to park so they don't get towed. I'm the guy who keeps things moving. I used to be good at keeping other things moving too. Now, I freeze in my own kitchen over a text message and listen to the refrigerator click. I pick the phone back up. My thumb opens the conversation. My eyes dart to the call button, the information icon, the details. No contact name, no photo. The number is not in my phone. My throat tightens with something that isn't quite panic, yet more like my body bracing for it. My chest does that little shallow flutter like a bird trapped behind glass. I type, "Who is this?" I don't send it, I delete it. It feels too confrontational, too much like I'm admitting this matters. I type, "Wrong number." Then I stop again. Because if it's wrong, why does it know about the oven? Because if it's not wrong, who would text me something like, "Tell me you're okay"? And no, I would read it as an instruction. I set the phone down, wash my hands properly, and dry them on a towel that smells faintly of mildew, because I always forget to put it in the laundry until it gets that way. The laugh track on the TV spikes in the other room. Somebody on screen says something, and the canned audience roars like they've never heard a joke before. The contrast makes my skin crawl a little, not in a horror movie way. In a real life is continuing while you're stuck way. I pick up the phone again and scroll up, as if there will be older messages I forgot. There aren't, just those two. My apartment building has thin walls. The guy next door practices guitar at night and never quite nails the same riff. Upstairs, there's a kid who runs in circles. Sometimes, when everything goes quiet, I can hear the elevator in the lobby groan like it's waking up. Right now, there's only the city and the TV and my own breathing. Another message arrives. Unknown number. I'm not trying to mess with you. Evan, please, my first name. The room tilts a fraction, like standing up too fast. My fingers go cold at the tips. I don't have a unique name. Evan isn't exactly rare. But stacked with the oven thing, with the tone, with the way it drops into that line like it's always been there, I tap the number at the top and hit info. It shows the digits again, offers options. Call, video, message, share contact, block. Underneath, maybe, Lena in the faint gray suggestion line that phones do now. Like they're trying to be helpful by connecting dots you didn't ask them to connect. My stomach gives a small, hard twist. I stare at that suggested name until the letters stop looking like letters. Lena. I don't say it out loud. Not in the kitchen. Not with the oven still warm and the TV still pretending life is normal. Saying it feels like tapping a bruise. A year ago, Lena Caro died in an accident on an icy stretch of Route 2 outside of Fitchburg. A commuter crash chain reaction mess. The kind that ends up on local news with a traffic helicopter shot and a calm voice listing closures. She was 29. She'd been driving back from seeing her sister. She hit black ice, spun, and a truck couldn't stop in time. I know those facts because I've recited them to people until they became a script. Because when someone finds out you lost someone, they ask the same questions like they're checking boxes. Was she sick? Was it sudden? Were you there? And you answer because it feels rude not to, because it feels like if you don't, she disappears faster. The details I don't recite are the ones that live under my skin. The ones about the coroner's phone call. The ones about identifying her belongings, not her body, because her sister didn't want me to see what the airbags and glass and metal had done. The ones about how I still can't drive Route 2 without my hands locking on the wheel. My private flaw, if you can call it, that is that I keep artifacts of her life like they're oxygen. Old voicemails I've never deleted. A folder of photos I scroll through when I can't sleep. Her last grocery list stuck to my fridge with a magnet shaped like a lobster, because we used to laugh at how touristy it was. I tell myself it's grief, that it's normal, but sometimes I wonder if it's something worse. a refusal to let the world move on, because if it does, it proves it can. My phone buzzes again, and I flinch so hard I almost drop it. Unknown number, you kept the voicemail. The one where I'm singing and it's bad on purpose. My lungs forget what they're doing. There's a voicemail like that. She left it one afternoon when she was stuck in traffic, and she'd started singing along to the radio, making her voice deliberately flat and dramatic. It's stupid. It's charming. It's in my saved messages. I've listened to it enough that the audio crackle feels like a physical texture. Nobody knows about that voicemail. Nobody but no. I lock the screen. I unlock it. The message is still there. My hands tremble now, not violently, just enough that I can see it in the slight jitter of the phone against my palm. My brain tries to solve it the way it solves everything, logistics first. Somebody got into her old accounts. Somebody spoofed a number. Somebody is playing a sick joke and somehow got personal details, maybe from social media, maybe from, I don't even know. I don't post about her much anymore. I stopped because the sympathy comments started feeling like a performance, like I was feeding an algorithm with my worst year. I pace from the sink to the doorway and back, careful not to step on the squeaky floorboard near the fridge, because the sound will make me feel more alone. I think about calling the number. I think about not calling the number. I think about what calling it would mean. The way the sound of a ring 1, 2, 3 can be a cliff edge. The way it could be nothing and I'd feel stupid and relieved. Or it could be something else and the world would rearrange itself. The TV laugh track hits again, sharp as a slap. I grab the remote, mute it, and the apartment drops into a more honest quiet. Just the hum of the fridge, the distant city. I open the message thread again. No new texts. I scroll to the top like there might be a hidden beginning. There is. I tap the number. I hover over call. My thumb sweats. My front door buzzes, someone downstairs letting themselves in, or the door not catching properly. Then the stairwell thumps with footsteps. A neighbor, normal life. People moving in and out of buildings without thinking twice. I can't do this alone. That's my first clear thought. Not because I'm brave, because I know what my mind does in isolation. It spirals. It turns a single anomaly into a whole world of worst-case scenarios. And then I start believing those scenarios because they have momentum. I need a witness. Someone who will look at the screen and tell me if I'm losing it. Someone who will take my phone out of my shaking hands if I start doing something dumb. I pick up my keys from the hook by the door. The metal is cold and grounding. I grab my jacket, even though it's warm inside. The fabric smells like outside air and old coffee. Phone buzzes one more time as I'm lacing my shoes. Unknown number. Don't go to the police. Please, just come talk to me. I stare at that, my pulse suddenly loud in my ears. The choice crystallizes in a way that makes my mouth taste like pennies. Call the number right now from my kitchen alone and risk hearing a voice I'm not ready for, or risk hearing nothing and letting the silence eat me alive. Or go get someone I trust, bring them into it, and step toward whatever this is with a second set of eyes. Hand is already on the doorknob when I realize I'm holding my breath. I let it out, slow. Then I step into the hallway, and the lock clicks behind me like a decision. I take the stairs 2 at a time, then slow myself on the second floor because my knee clicks when I rush, and I don't want to arrive already keyed up. The hallway smells like wet wool and someone's burnt toast. Normal. I hold on to that. Outside, the night has that Boston in winter sharpness, where the air feels scrubbed clean. I walk 3 blocks to Maya Ortiz's place because calling her would require explaining over the phone, and I don't trust my voice to stay steady. Maya is 34, female, a civil engineer who lives in a first-floor condo she bought before the market went feral. She answers the door in socks and a hoodie with a stain shaped like Massachusetts. Her hair is pulled back in a loose knot that always looks like it's one tug away from falling apart. "Hey," she says, smiling, then stops when she sees my face. "What's wrong? Can I come in?" I ask. My mouth feels numb around the words. She steps aside without asking questions. Her place smells like cumin and the lemon cleaner she uses on everything. There's a pot simmering on the stove. A cat darts past my ankles and disappears under the couch. I pull my phone out before I can lose nerve and hold it out like evidence. "Read this," I say. She takes it, squints, scrolls. Her jaw tightens, not dramatically, just a small, controlled thing like when she's reviewing plans, and finds a mistake that shouldn't be there. "Okay," she says after a beat. "That's not okay." "It suggested her name," I say, pointing. My phone did that thing where it guesses. "But the voicemail." "I know," she says gently. I remember the voicemail. Maya was the one who sat with me the night after the funeral, passing me water and not flinching when I played it for her at 2 a.m. like it was proof of life. She knows my worst habits because she's seen them in action. She scrolls again. "When did this start?" 20 minutes ago, maybe 30. Her eyes flick to the battery icon. "Your phone's at 12%. "I know. That's our first problem," she says. "Plug it in." I don't have my charger. She hands me one from the counter. "Sit," I plug in, watch the lightning bolt appear. My hands are steadier when they have something to do. "Second problem," she continues, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. "Someone is telling you not to go to the police." I didn't say I was going to. I know, but they brought it up, which means they're thinking ahead. My phone vibrates on the counter between us. "Unknown number. I don't have long. Please don't make this harder." Maya exhales through her nose. "Time pressure," she says. "Classic." "Classic what?" I snap, then immediately regret it. My shoulders are up around my ears. She meets my eyes. Classic manipulation. I'm not saying it's a scam. I'm saying someone wants you rushed. Another message arrives. "Unknown number. If you want proof it's me, check the shoebox under your bed." Top drawer, blue ribbon. My stomach drops. Maya watches my face change. "What? There's a shoebox," I say. "Under my bed." "Lena kept." "I know," she says quietly. "I helped you move it." The ribbon. Frayed at the edges. From a dress she wore to a wedding where the DJ played too much early 2000s pop, and she danced anyway. It's not on social media. It's not in any cloud backup. It's a physical object that hasn't left my apartment. "Evan," Maya says, "look at me." I do. "We don't go there alone," she says. "If someone has been in your place, that's a crime scene." My phone vibrates again, like it's impatient. "Unknown number. He's coming back soon. You have to decide." "Who is he?" asks, reading over my shoulder. "I don't know." She takes a breath. "Okay, new plan. We call someone." "They told me not to." "I don't care what they told you," she says, sharper now. "This is where your flaw kicks in. You don't want to involve anyone because you think you should be able to handle it. You can't." The words sting because they're accurate. "Fine," I say. "Who?" she thinks, then grabs her keys. "We go to your place. Together, right now. If someone has been there, we document. Photos. We don't touch anything we don't have to. If this escalates, we call 911. Not before, not never when. And if the texts stop, I ask, Then they stop, she says. That's information too. We're halfway back to my building when my phone buzzes again. I unlock it with my thumb, the streetlight flickering overhead. Unknown number, location sent. A map opens. A pin drops. It's not my apartment. It's a public park 2 miles away, along the harbor. The one with the long concrete pier and the broken lamppost at the end that the city keeps promising to fix. I've walked there 100 times. Lena and I used to go at night in the summer and sit with our feet dangling over the edge, listening to the water slap concrete. Maya stops walking. Nope. They want me to meet them, I say, though it's obvious. At night, she says, in a place with bad lighting. I know. My phone buzzes again. Unknown number, 25 minutes. Battery dying. After that, I can't help you. I laugh, a short, ugly sound. Of course. Maya rubs her forehead. This is either someone who knows you frighteningly well, or someone who's been watching you. Either way, that park is a bad idea. They said someone else coming back to my apartment, I say. If that's true, then the safest place is not chasing them into the dark, she finishes. We stand there, traffic hissing by, the smell of the harbor faint but unmistakable. My phone ticks up to 15%, like a cruel joke. Another message. Unknown number, I'm scared. Please don't leave me here, my chest tightens. That's the line that gets me, not the facts, the fear, the way it echoes my own. Maya sees it hit. She puts a hand on my arm. Evan, that's bait. I know, I say, I know. But if there's even a chance that it's someone in trouble, she says. A real person, I nod. Silence stretches. A bus roars past. Someone laughs on the sidewalk across the street. Okay, Maya says finally. We compromise. I look at her. We don't go alone, she says. We don't go unprepared. We don't leave your place unsecured. Those are 3 different directions. She pulls out her phone. I call my brother, she says. He's a paramedic. He can meet us at the park entrance. Lights on. Witness. And my apartment. We call a non-emergency line and ask for a welfare check on you, she says. Say you're concerned someone accessed your unit. We don't mention texts from the dead. We keep it procedural. My phone buzzes again, more insistent now, as if the vibration itself is trying to crawl up my arm. Unknown number, 10%. The clock is ticking in a way I can feel in my teeth. Okay, I say, heart pounding. Okay, Maya starts dialing. I start walking toward my car, already running through the route to the harbor in my head, the turns, the places where the streetlights thin out. Behind us, somewhere down the block, a car door slams. Footsteps quicken. I don't turn around. I don't know why. I just know that the sense of being observed, of being slightly outpaced, has followed me since I left my apartment, and the idea that it might be connected makes my skin prickle. My phone buzzes one last time before it slips into low power mode. Unknown number. He's closer than you think. Then the screen goes dark. We split up in the parking lot, which already feels like a mistake, even though it's the most practical option. Maya takes my car, an aging Honda with a sticky lock to the harbor park. I stay with her brother on the phone while he drives in from Cambridge with his lights on, but siren off. A compromise between speed and not attracting attention. I walk back toward my building with my own phone in low power mode, every step feeling like I'm moving against a current. South Boston at night is a grid I know by muscle memory. West Broadway hums with traffic. Side streets soften into residential quiet. My building sits on one of those in-between blocks, 3 stories of tired brick, with a busted intercom panel that someone keeps taping over instead of fixing. The non-emergency operator keeps me on hold long enough that my calf starts to cramp from standing. When she finally comes back, her voice is calm, procedural. An officer can swing by, but response time is about 40 minutes, she says. If there's an active threat, you should call 911. There might be someone inside my apartment, I say, careful with the wording like Maya suggested. Do you hear anything? I listen. A truck passes. Somewhere a TV murmurs through a wall. The building itself makes its usual noises, pipes ticking, a door opening and closing below. No, I say. Okay, an officer will check when available. The call ends. No sirens, no rush, just me and the front door. I don't go in right away. I stand on the sidewalk and look up at my windows. The living room light is off. The bedroom light is off. That's normal. I left them off. I unlock the door and step into the lobby. The elevator groans awake, then stalls between floors like it always does. I take the stairs, my breath loud in the narrow space. On the 3rd floor, my door is closed. The lock looks untouched. My shoulders loosen a fraction. Then I notice the shoe rack. One pair is out of line, just slightly. The toe angled toward the door instead of parallel, like I always keep them. It's such a small thing that my brain tries to dismiss it as my own carelessness. I crouch, adjust it back into place, and realize the dust pattern underneath doesn't match. Something heavy shifted it recently. Inside, the apartment smells faintly different. Not bad, just cooler, like air that's been let in and trapped. I move room by room, narrating quietly to myself the way a contractor would on a site walkthrough. Kitchen clear, living room clear. I don't open the bedroom door yet. When I do, my stomach sinks. The bedspread is rumpled in a way I know isn't from me. The top drawer of the dresser is open an inch. I cross the room, hands shaking now, and pull it open fully. The shoebox is gone. I take photos with my phone, documenting the drawer, the empty space, the scuffed floor. My battery drops to 4%. My phone vibrates. A text pushes through. Unknown number, I told you. I had to take it so you'd come. My mouth goes dry. I type back with stiff fingers. You were in my apartment. 3 dots appear. Disappear, appear again. Unknown number, I didn't want to hurt you. That's when the misdirection hits. A loud thump comes from the hallway outside my door, followed by a dragging sound. My heart slams so hard it feels like it's trying to escape through my ribs. I grab the heaviest thing within reach, a lamp, and hold it like a club. Hello, a voice says. A man's voice, close. My knees go weak. Then the door across the hall opens, and Mrs. Kowalski, who lives there with her oxygen tank and her opinionated little dog, pokes her head out. The dragging sound resolves into her metal walker scraping the floor. Someone left the recycling bin blocking the stairs, she says, annoyed. Nearly killed myself. I sag against the doorframe, adrenaline burning off in a wave that leaves me dizzy. Sorry, I manage. She eyes me. You look pale. I'm fine, I lie. She shuffles away. The threat evaporates, leaving behind the echo of how easily my brain filled in the worst possible shape. My phone buzzes again. Unknown number, park. End of the pier, hurry. The map pin reappears. My battery icon turns red and blinks. I lock the apartment and tape a note to the inside of the door like Maya suggested. Do not enter. Police notified. It's flimsy, but it's something. Outside, my hands won't stop shaking. I sit in my car for a second with my forehead against the steering wheel, breathing until the dizziness passes. The engine turns over on the second try. The drive to the harbor is short, but feels stretched. I catch myself checking the rearview mirror too often, convinced headlights are sticking too close. They aren't. Traffic thins as I turn onto the road that runs along the water. Maya texts as I park. Maya, I'm here. Brother is 2 minutes out. Where are you? Me. Parking now. I step out into wind that smells like salt and diesel. The park is a ribbon of concrete and scrubby grass along the water. The pier juts out like a finger, its lights spaced too far apart, leaving pockets of darkness. Maya stands near the entrance, jacket zipped to her chin, phone to her ear. She waves when she sees me. Shoebox is gone, I say as soon as I'm close. Her jaw tightens. Okay, that confirms it. A set of headlights swings into the lot. A white SUV pulls up, idling, and gets out mid-30s, broad-shouldered, reflective striping on his jacket. This is my brother, Louis, Maya says. He's here. Louis gives me a quick nod. Stay in the light, he says, already scanning the area. We walk together toward the pier. My phone buzzes one last time before dying completely. Unknown number, he's right behind you. The screen goes black. I stop dead. My pulse roars in my ears. Louis turns. What? My phone died, I say. They said a shape moves near the end of the pier. Just a silhouette, resolving and unresolving as it passes through the broken lamplight. Maya grips my sleeve. Evan, we keep walking. The boards underfoot creak softly, the sound swallowed by the water slapping against concrete below. Halfway down, I notice a dark smear near one of the benches. I crouch, touch it with my finger. Grease. From a food truck, probably. My brain had leapt straight to blood. At the end of the pier, someone stands facing the water. As we approach, they turn. It's not Lena. It's a woman about my age, hair pulled back, eyes too bright in the low light. She holds the shoebox under one arm like a shield. Relief and dread crash together in my chest. I'm sorry, she says quickly. I didn't know how else to get you here. Who are you? Maya demands. The woman looks past us, back toward the park entrance. We have to hurry, she says. He's not supposed to be here yet. Who is he? I ask, my voice hoarse. She opens her mouth to answer, and the pier lights go out. All of them at once, plunging us into darkness broken only by the glow of distant city and the reflected shimmer of water. Behind us, footsteps break into a run. Louis swears. There's no way back without crossing the length of the pier in the dark, with someone closing in. Retreat is no longer an option. The dark isn't total, not really. There's the city glow bleeding over the water, the low red blink of a distant buoy, the pale smear of moon behind clouds. Enough to see shapes. Enough to trip. Stay still, Louis says, already moving. I hear fabric scrape as he steps in front of us, putting his body between the woman and the sound of running feet. Who's there? He calls, voice firm, paramedic command calm. The footsteps hesitate, then start again, faster. Evan, the woman says urgently, thrusting the shoebox at me. You have to listen to me. He found my phone. He's been watching you for months. My hands close around the box without thinking. The cardboard is dented where someone gripped it too hard. The ribbon peeks out, blue even in the half-light. Why my girlfriend? I ask. The words scrape out of me. Why her? Because you were vulnerable, she says, eyes flicking toward the darkness behind us. And because he knew her. Louis swears under his breath. We're leaving, now. We turn as one. The runner bursts into the edge of the light, a man in a dark jacket, hood up, breathing hard. He skids to a stop when he sees Louis's stance. Back up, Louis says. Police are on the way. The man laughs. It's sharp and humorless. You always say that. Maya steps up beside me. Her hand finds mine, squeezes once. Grounding. The man points at the woman. You stole my phone. You stole my life, she shoots back. Her voice cracks, then steadies. I just borrowed his. My brain scrambles to connect it. The texts, typed by her, the man says, smug. Sent from Lena's old iCloud backup I helped her access. You'd be amazed what people leave behind. The word backup hits like a punch. Lena's phone was totaled in the crash, but her data, photos, messages, voicemails had lived on, floating in the cloud. I'd given her passwords once years ago because trust felt simple then. You broke into my apartment, I say to the woman. I did, she says, to get the ribbon. To make it real for you, I'm sorry. The man lunges. It's messy and fast. Louis moves to intercept, but the pier is slick with spray and old grease. He slips, goes down hard. His head cracks against the concrete with a sound that turns my stomach. Louis, Maya screams. The man barrels past, shoulder checking me. I stumble, catch myself on the bench, the shoebox skidding across the pier. The lid pops off. The ribbon spills out, blue against gray. The woman dives for it at the same time I do. Our heads knock. Stars explode behind my eyes. Gasps, but keeps crawling, fingers closing around the ribbon like it's a lifeline. The man grabs her ankle and yanks. She screams. I grab his arm, my fingers sliding on wet fabric. He swings back blindly and his elbow catches my jaw. Pain flares, hot and immediate. Maya is on the phone, shouting directions, voice shaking, but clear. End of the pier, yes. Lights are out, paramedic down, Louis groans. Tries to push himself up, fails. Blood runs from a cut above his eyebrow, dark and alarming. Stop, I shout, not sure who I'm talking to. The woman twists, kicks, connects with the man's knee. He goes down with a grunt. For a split second, everything freezes. Then he's up again, fury etched into every line of him. You think you can just, a beam of light slices across the pier. Then another, flashlights, voices. Police, don't move. The man bolts toward the edge, slips, skids. He goes over the side with a splash that's too big to be anything but a full fall. Shouts. Someone radios for marine rescue. The water churns where he went in, then stills. I sag, adrenaline bleeding out of me in a rush that leaves my legs hollow. Maya drops to her knees beside Louis, hands steady now, pressing cloth to his head. You're okay, she tells him, like a promise she can make real. Stay with me. The woman sits back on her heels, shaking. She looks at me, eyes wet. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I don't know what to say. The ribbon lies between us, soaked and grimy, no longer sacred, just fabric. Sirens swell, then cut. Officers move in, efficient, controlled. An ambulance backs onto the pier, lights painting everything red and blue. They take our statements separately. I watch them wrap Louis's head, lift him onto a stretcher. He catches my eye and gives a weak thumbs up. Relief crashes through me so hard I have to sit down. An officer kneels in front of me. Sir, can you tell me how this started? I look at the shoebox in my lap, at the ribbon, at my hands scraped and shaking. With a text, I say, from someone who knew exactly where to press. They pull the woman aside, cuff her gently. She doesn't resist. As they lead her away, she turns back once. I'm sorry, she says again. I thought if I controlled the story, I could stop him. Who is he? I ask. She swallows. My ex. He works in it. He helped me access old backups. When I tried to cut him out, he threatened to expose what I'd done. Then he found you. The officer nods, scribbling. They never find the man that night. The harbor gives up nothing but cold. By the time it's over, my jaw aches, my knuckles throb, and my phone, retrieved from the bottom of my jacket pocket, is still dead. When I finally plug it in at the hospital waiting room hours later, it boots up slow and stubborn. No new messages. Scroll through my saved voicemails and delete the singing one before I can stop myself. The empty space it leaves feels like a bruise I've been protecting and finally pressed. Maya sits beside me, eyes red, jacket stained with blood that isn't hers. We don't talk for a long time. When we do, it's quiet. "You did the right thing," she says. I'm not sure what that means anymore. Only that the night took something from me and gave nothing back except the certainty that some doors, once opened, don't close cleanly. The hospital waiting room smells like antiseptic and burnt coffee. The chairs are bolted to the floor in tidy rows, blue vinyl cracked from years of bodies shifting and sighing. A TV mounted in the corner plays a morning show on mute, captions crawling along the bottom like insects. It's almost dawn. The windows have gone from black mirrors to a dull gray. Lewis comes out of imaging with a bandage wrapped around his head and the kind of careful gait that says he's pretending not to hurt. Doctor follows, brisk and practiced, explaining concussion protocols, warning signs, the importance of rest. Lewis nods, eyes half-lidded, absorbing just enough. "I'll be fine," he says when Maya rushes him. His voice is softer than usual. "I've had worse." She doesn't argue. She just presses her forehead to his shoulder for a second, breathing him in like she needs proof he's still solid. I sit apart, my jaw aching in a way that feels deeper than bruising. The nurse offered ice earlier. I declined. It seemed like one more thing I didn't have the energy to accept. A uniformed officer finds me before sunrise. She's younger than I expect, hair pulled back tight, notebook already open. We go over it again, how the text started, the park, the pier, the fall. She asks about passwords, devices, old accounts. "You shared access at some point?" she asks. "Yes," I say. "Years ago." She nods, not judgmental, just factual. We see this more now. Old data repurposed. People don't think about digital remains. The phrase sticks with me, digital remains. Like a second body, invisible but just as real. They took my phone overnight for a forensic copy. I get it back mid-morning with a plastic evidence tag and a new screen protector I didn't ask for. Everything is there except what I deleted myself. No new messages. No ghost in the machine. The woman, her name is Rachel Kim, 31, confesses to breaking into my apartment. She's charged with unlawful entry, theft, harassment. They find her phone in her bag, wiped, but not clean enough. The texts came from a web-based service routed through her device. Time to look organic. No magic, just planning and a willingness to step on a stranger's grief to solve her own problem. Her ex, the man who ran, is identified within a day. Name, address, a thin paper trail of complaints that never quite rose to charges. He isn't found. Not right away. Maya stays with me the first night back at my apartment. An officer has already been through dusted surfaces, photographed the bedroom. The shoebox sits on my kitchen table now, returned, but no longer where it belongs. The ribbon is sealed in a clear bag like contraband. "I can take it," Maya offers, meaning the box, meaning the weight. "Not yet," I say. "I just need to decide where it goes." She nods. She's good at letting silences exist without rushing to fill them. Sleep comes in pieces. Every sound drags me half awake. The elevator groan, a car door slamming, the building settling. When I dream, it's mundane things: burnt lasagna, missed calls, my phone lighting up on the counter. But I wake with my heart racing anyway. In the following weeks, life resumes its routines with the indifference of a machine that never noticed it stalled. I go back to work. I reschedule a site visit I missed. A contractor jokes about me taking a personal day, like it's interchangeable with what happened. I change my passwords, all of them. I turn on two-factor authentication, download an app that tracks logins and sends alerts. I call my carrier and lock down my number. Each step feels both necessary and absurdly late. I see a therapist again, a different one this time. I tell her the story without embellishment. She listens, hands folded, occasionally asking me to slow down. "You were targeted because you were visible in your grief," she says gently. "That doesn't mean your grief is wrong." "I know," I say. "I just don't know what to do with it now." "That," she says, "is the work." Louis recovers. He sends me a photo of the scar once the stitches come out, like proof he earned it. Maya goes back to her job and pretends not to flinch every time her phone buzzes late at night. The police update me sporadically. Rachel pleads guilty. She cries in court, apologizes without meeting my eyes. I accept the apology because holding onto anger feels like another way of letting the whole thing live rent-free in my head. They still haven't caught her ex. There are sightings, rumors, a warrant. Nothing solid. One evening, months later, I drive Route 2 for the first time since the crash. It's autumn now. The trees have turned red and gold, like the world insisting on beauty. My hands sweat on the wheel, but I keep going. The road is just a road. Ice only matters when it's there. At home, I finally deal with the shoebox. I take the ribbon out of the bag, wash it in the sink with gentle soap, lay it flat on a towel. It's frayed. It always was. I fold it once, then again, and put it back, not under the bed, but in a drawer with other things that belong to the past without owning the present. I delete more voicemails. Not all of them, just enough to prove to myself I can. On a Tuesday morning that looks exactly like every other Tuesday morning, my phone buzzes while I'm making coffee. A notification banner slides down. Security alert. New login to your account detected. My stomach tightens, sharp and familiar. I open it. Location, unknown. Device, unrecognized. Status, blocked. My breath comes back slowly. The system did what it was supposed to do. No breach, no message, just a warning that something or someone knocked and didn't get in. I report it, follow the steps, close the app. The coffee maker clicks off. Steam fogs the window. Outside, the streetlight flickers, then steadies. I take my mug to the table and sit. The apartment is quiet in a way that feels earned, not imposed. My phone stays face up, silent. After a while, I turn it over anyway. The shadows fade for now, but the stories never end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and join our community of horror lovers. If you're hungry for more, check out the next video. Just remember, the scariest part is often the one you don't see coming. Hey everyone, this is Mia Horror Stories, and the title of today's horror story is My Phone Shows Photos I Never Took, Always of Me Sleeping. For your comfort, the screen will stay black throughout the video, so you can relax without strain and just focus on the story. Make sure you stick around until the end. Sometimes the last few moments are the ones that stay with you the longest. At first, I thought it was one of those tiny phone glitches you laugh about later. Your screen does something weird. Your brain supplies the explanation, and you go back to buttering toast like your life isn't balanced on a slab of glass and lithium. I was standing in my kitchen with my socks half on, one foot cold on the tile, the other perched on the edge of a rug that kept curling up at the corner, no matter how many times I smoothed it down. The kettle clicked off with a dry little sigh. Outside, the alley behind my building was waking up, a delivery truck revering beep, 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 then the slam of a metal door. Somebody laughed too loudly, like they were trying to make a point. My phone buzzed on the counter beside a bowl of keys and a stack of unopened mail. I wiped my hands on my sweatshirt and tapped the screen without thinking. Photos, new memories. A banner I hadn't seen before. Under it, a thumbnail. Not a cute collage. Not a vacation. Not a sunset. Just darkness, mostly, with a pale shape in the lower half that my tired brain tried to turn into a pillow or a dog or anything harmless. I tapped again. It opened into an image so grainy it almost looked like it had been taken underwater. There was my face, my actual face, sidelit by something dim and blue, like a street lamp filtering through blinds. My eyes were closed. My mouth was slightly open in that ugly way people sleep when they don't know they're being watched. The room around me was my room. I recognized the dented nightstand, the cheap lamp from Target, the corner of my throw blanket that always slid off the bed and pooled on the floor. It was undeniably me. It was also undeniably taken from above, at an angle that implied my phone, had been held up near the ceiling, looking down. My first thought wasn't someone's in my house. My first thought was even dumber. Did I sleepwalk and take a photo? Because that's what you do when something breaks normal. You pick the explanation that makes you feel least ridiculous and least endangered, and you cling to it like it's a life raft. I swiped. Another photo. Me again. Another night. The same room, slightly different bedding. My hair pulled back like I'd showered. My cheek smashed into the pillow. The angle was worse, closer, like whoever took it had leaned in. My stomach did something small and physical, like it was trying to move away from the image. I hit the lock button hard enough that the phone made a sharp click. The screen went black. My reflection floated there for a second, ghosting over the dark glass. A guy in his late 20s, unshaven, staring at his own hands like they didn't belong to him. The kettle sat there steaming faintly, fogging a patch on the window. Coffee grounds smelled bitter and comforting. The radiator in the corner knocked once, then settled. Everything in the apartment was normal, except for the fact that it suddenly didn't feel like mine. I forced myself to breathe through my nose, slow. You don't get to panic over a thumbnail. Not yet. Not without checking. I unlocked the phone again and went into the photo details. My thumb left a sweaty smear on the glass. Date yesterday, 3:12 a.m. Location, device, iPhone 14 Pro. Yesterday I'd been asleep at 3:12. I knew because I'd woken up at 6:40 to my alarm, hit snooze twice, and rolled out of bed with that sour taste you get when you dream of running, but never quite move. I went to the next photo's details. 2 nights ago, 3:09 a.m. Same device, no location, no live photo movement, no weird burst shots, just clean, still frames. I felt my skin go tight across my arms. A laugh drifted up through the thin walls. My neighbor, probably. Someone's TV. The building had that constant background hum, plumbing, footsteps overhead, an elevator cable whining if you listened for it. Normally, it made me feel less alone. This morning, it made me feel like there were too many ways sound could cover other sound. I set the phone down on the counter like it was hot. "Okay," I said out loud to the kitchen. My voice came out flat and a little higher than usual. "Okay, Ben, you're not doing this." That's me, Ben Harrow, 29. I work IT support for a mid-sized healthcare company in downtown Seattle, the kind of job where you spend your day telling people to turn things off and on again, and pretending you aren't terrified of the one problem you can't fix. I moved into this one-bedroom in Capitol Hill because it was close enough to commute, and because the rent was barely something I could justify if I didn't eat out and didn't think too hard about the future, and because after my last breakup, I couldn't stand a place with too much space. Space echoes. My private flaw, if you want to call it that, is that I don't like not knowing. Not in a quirky, I'm so organized way. In a way that makes my chest squeeze when I can't account for something. I keep lists. I check locks twice. If I misplace my wallet, my whole day gets an ugly edge to it until it's back where it belongs. I tell myself it's practical. My therapist used the word control once, and I didn't go back after that session. The phone, though. The phone is supposed to be the thing that knows, the thing that tracks and timestamps and remembers when I don't. I picked it up again and went straight to settings. My hands were steadier now, not because I was calm, but because the part of me that fixes things had grabbed the wheel. Face ID, passcode, changed it last month. 6 digits, not my birthday, not the obvious ones. I checked for any new apps, anything that looked like remote access, screen sharing, MDM profiles. Nothing. I opened my Apple ID devices list. It showed my laptop and my phone. That was it. I checked the login history. No strange locations. No midnight sign-ins from Ohio or Romania or wherever my brain wanted to put the villain. It was boring. It was clean, which somehow made it worse. My phone buzzed again, a calendar reminder. Maya coffee, set for 10:15. I stared at the reminder until it blurred, then hit accept like muscle memory. Maya always did that, put reminders in both our calendars when we made plans, because she was the kind of person who didn't trust her own brain to hold everything and didn't apologize for it. She and I had been friends since a contract job 2 years ago where we'd sat in adjacent cubes and survived on vending machine pretzels and mutual sarcasm. I tapped her contact. Maya Ainsley, 31, female. Her photo was her in a yellow raincoat, hood up, squinting at the camera like she was about to say something rude and funny. I hovered over call. Then I didn't, because there's this shameful irrational moment when you find something wrong and you don't want to hand it to someone else yet. You want to solve it privately, like that will keep it smaller. Like if you can explain it before anyone hears it, it won't become real. Also, I didn't want to be the guy who called a friend at 9 in the morning and said, "Hey, my phone has photos of me sleeping. Isn't that weird?" As if I was fishing for attention or spiraling. Maya could be kind, but she could also be brutally direct. I opened the photo again instead, zoomed in until pixels broke apart. The blue light source, my alarm clock display on the dresser. The shadowy rectangle near the top, my closet door. The edge of something near the right side, a blurry line that might have been the window frame. I could even see the faint reflection of the blinds on my cheek. There was no obvious hand in frame, no face, nothing dramatic, just the intimacy of being seen when you weren't consenting to be seen. I turned and looked down the hallway toward my bedroom. The door was half open. I hadn't shut it last night. I never did. It helped the apartment feel less like a box. Now it looked like an invitation. I walked over slowly, not because I thought someone would jump out, but because my body was giving my brain time to invent better explanations. Inside, everything looked the way it always did, rumpled sheets, my jeans draped over the chair, a paperback face down on the dresser. The air smelled like detergent and stale sleep. The window had condensation at the bottom, beads catching the gray morning. I stood there listening. The building, the street, a distant siren, the soft tick of the old ceiling fan I never used but never bothered to fix. Nothing else. I checked the window lock anyway. It was latched. I checked the front door deadbolt. Still locked. Then I did the thing I hate admitting. I went to the little black strip of tape I'd stuck to the top edge of the doorframe a few weeks ago. It was a habit I'd picked up after a rash of package thefts in the building. The tape was thin enough that it'd tear if the door was forced open when I wasn't home. It was still intact. "Okay," I said again, softer this time. Like if I kept talking, I'd stay in charge. I went back to the kitchen, phone in hand, and sat at the small table by the window. My coffee sat untouched, a dark mirror with a skin forming on top. I opened the Photos app, scrolled. There were 6 of them, all taken between 3:00 and 3:20 a.m. over the past week. All of me asleep, some slightly farther, some close enough that I could see the rough patch of skin near my jaw where I'd nicked myself shaving. I swallowed and felt it in my throat. It was the kind of pattern you only notice once it exists. 6 isn't a lot, but it's enough to be deliberate. My phone buzzed again, this time a text. "Maya, you still on for coffee? I'm at Cedar and Spokes already. Don't bail, expressionless face." I stared at the message for a long time. There were 2 impulses in me, pulling hard in opposite directions. One, go about my day, pretend this was a fluke, because acknowledging it made it bigger, and I didn't have spare emotional bandwidth for bigger. 2, tell someone, because whatever this was, it had already crossed the line from weird to personal. And then a third thought, quiet and mean. If you tell Maya, You're admitting you can't handle your own life." I typed, deleted, typed again. "Me on my way. Running a little late. Can we talk about something weird?" The 3 dots appeared immediately. "Maya, define weird." I looked at the hallway again. At the half-open bedroom door. At the ordinary apartment that suddenly had edges. I could go to coffee, show her the photos, ask her to help me figure out whether I was losing my mind or whether there was an actual problem to solve. Or I could cancel, stay home, and try to handle it alone. Start with a factory reset. Change all my passwords. Buy a little camera for my room, like one of those paranoid Reddit threads suggests. And keep this private. Both choices felt bad in different ways. I picked up my keys, put them down, picked them up again. My thumb hovered over Maya's contact photo. Outside, the delivery truck in the alley revved, then pulled away, leaving a gap of quiet that made the apartment feel too spacious for the first time. I stood there with my phone in my hand, hearing my own breathing, and decided which lie I could live with for the rest of the day. By the time I got to Cedar and Spokes, my hands smelled like cold metal and keys. I'd washed them twice before leaving, a pointless little ritual, but the smell lingered anyway. The cafe was doing its usual weekday thing, low music, steam hissing from the espresso machine. A couple of people hunched over laptops like they were afraid of being seen working. It was warm in that damp way coffee shops get in winter. Coats draped over chairs, wet footprints darkening the floor. Maya spotted me before I reached the counter. "Hey," she said, waving once and then squinting at my face. "You look like hell." "Good morning to you too." She slid a paper cup across the table toward me. "I ordered you a drip. You were going to do that thing where you overthink it." "Thanks," I said, though my throat felt too tight to drink. Maya Ainsley is 31, with a sharp chin and a voice that always sounds like she's smiling, even when she is. She grew up in Portland, moved to Seattle for grad school, and has this way of leaning into problems like they're puzzles she's already halfway solved. It's one of the reasons I trust her. It's also the reason I hesitate before handing her something I don't understand myself. We sat there for a moment, the normalcy of it pressing in. Outside, a bus sighed to a stop. Someone dropped a spoon. The world was still very much functioning. "So," she said finally, wrapping both hands around her mug. "You said weird." I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table, screen down. "Before I show you anything, promise you won't immediately tell me I'm being dramatic." She raised an eyebrow. "I promise I will consider telling you you're being dramatic." "Fair." I flipped the phone over and opened the Photos app. Scrolled to the folder I'd made because of course I made a folder, and tapped the first image. Maya leaned in, her shoulder brushing mine. I felt myself tense at the contact, which was new and unpleasant. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Her mouth did a small, thoughtful thing, like she was chewing on a word. "That's you," she said eventually. "Yes." "Sleeping." "Yes." "In your bed." "Yes." "And you didn't take this." "No." She swiped to the next one, then the next. Her brows knit together slowly, the way they did when she was actually concentrating. "Okay," she said. "Okay. First question, are you on any new meds?" "No." "Any history of sleepwalking?" "Not that I know of." "Anyone else have access to your phone?" "No. Face ID, passcode, I checked." "And you're sure these aren't old?" "They're from this week." She handed the phone back to me, careful, like it might bite. "That's not great." Relief flared stupidly in my chest. "Thank you." "But," she continued, "it doesn't automatically mean someone is breaking into your apartment." I waited. "Phones do weird stuff," she said. "Cloud sync glitches. Restore's gone wrong. I once had my phone resurrect a whole album of screenshots I'd deleted months earlier. These have timestamps. Those can be wrong too. 6 nights in a row." She hesitated. "That's less great." We sat there in silence, the low murmur of other conversations filling the gaps. I took a sip of coffee. It tasted thin. "Here's the thing," Maya said finally. "If someone is physically in your place at night, that's a police thing. But if it's a phone thing, you need to lock it down. Hard." "I checked everything." "You checked everything you know to check," she said gently. "Which is not the same thing." I bristled. "I work in it." "I know," she said. "Which means you're also very good at assuming systems work the way they're supposed to." That landed. It was uncomfortably accurate. "Okay," I said. "So what do we do?" She took out her phone and opened the calendar. "First, timeline. You said they're all around 3 in the morning." "Yeah, between 3 and 3:20. Consistent enough to be intentional," she said. "Second, environment. Your apartment building any recent issues? Maintenance? New neighbors?" "Nothing I can think of." "Third," she said, "you don't stay there alone tonight." I blinked. "What?" "Ben." "That seems like an overreaction." "It seems like the bare minimum until we know more." I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. Because the idea of sleeping in that bed tonight made my skin crawl in a way I hadn't let myself acknowledge yet. "Fine," I said. "I can crash on your couch." "Good. Fourth," she said, already moving on. "We need more data." I reset my phone. "Not yet," she said. "If this is a security issue, resetting it destroys evidence." That made my stomach drop. "Evidence of what?" I asked. "Of how," she said, "not who yet." She stood abruptly. "Come on." "Where are we going?" "Your place." I glanced at my watch. 10:42. I had a meeting at noon. "Maya, this is time sensitive," she said. "If someone is accessing your phone remotely or physically, every hour matters. You can reschedule." She was already pulling on her coat. The walk back to my apartment felt different, like I was seeing everything through a layer of glass. The same cracked sidewalks, the same wet leaves mashed into the gutter, a man sleeping under an awning, his breath fogging the air. Normal, normal, normal. Inside my building, the lobby smelled faintly of cleaning solution and old carpet. The security camera above the mailboxes blinked a steady red. "Does that thing actually work?" Maya asked, following my gaze. "I assume so," I said, which wasn't reassuring even to me. Upstairs, in my apartment, the daylight made everything look less threatening. The bed was just a bed. The shadows were shorter. The tape on the doorframe was still intact. Maya moved like she owned the place, methodical. She checked the window locks, the bathroom, the closet. "Do you ever charge your phone in here?" she asked, pointing to the living room. "Sometimes. Always the same outlet." I nodded. She crouched by the outlet, unplugged the charger, and examined it. "You ever use public charging stations? Airports, coffee shops?" She grimaced. "Not great. I use my own cable." "Still not great." She stood and pulled out a small notebook from her bag. She actually carries a notebook. It's annoying and comforting at the same time. "Okay," she said. "We need to know if this happens again tonight. And we need to know how." "I'm not sleeping here," I said. "I know," she said, "but your phone might." I stared at her. "Absolutely not. Ben, I'm not leaving my phone alone in my apartment like bait." "We don't leave it alone," she said. "We control the variables." She outlined it quickly, efficiently, like she'd been waiting for a problem like this. "Leave the phone plugged in exactly where it usually was. Enable a screen recorder and logging. Put the phone in airplane mode, but leave Wi-Fi on or vice versa to isolate access paths. Set up a cheap USB camera she had in her bag, because of course she did, to watch the room. Not hidden, just present. Transparent. If someone's physically coming in," she said, "we'll know. If it's remote, we'll see activity. And if nothing happens, then we narrow it down." My chest felt tight. Control. I wanted control. This was the opposite of that, deliberately creating a situation I couldn't monitor in real time. "What if someone realizes we're testing them?" I asked. Maya met my eyes. "Then they make a move, which is scary, but it's also information." I hated how much that made sense. We set it up together. The camera on the bookshelf, angled toward the bedroom. The phone on the nightstand, plugged in. Maya triple-checked the settings, narrating as she went, like that would keep me anchored. When we were done, the apartment felt staged, like a set. "Okay," she said, zipping up her bag. "We go to my place. We check the feed periodically. If anything happens, we call the police. And if something happens before we check," she shrugged just a little, "then we deal with it." As we were leaving, my phone buzzed in my hand, my other phone, the old one I kept as a backup. A notification from my carrier. "Unusual activity detected on your account. Please verify recent changes." My heart kicked hard against my ribs. "Maya," I said, holding it up. "That wasn't there before." She went very still. "Okay," she said slowly. "That just escalated." The red light on the lobby camera blinked as we walked past it. Steady and indifferent. We didn't even make it to Maya's place before the first attempt fell apart. Her apartment is a third-floor walk-up near Volunteer Park, the kind of building with narrow stairs that creak differently depending on who's climbing them. By the time we got inside, my legs felt rubbery, like I'd been walking downhill for hours. Maya kicked off her boots and went straight to her router, crouching to check the lights. "Sit," she said, pointing to the couch without looking at me. I did. The cushions smelled faintly like her laundry detergent lavender and something toasted. The windows rattled when a bus passed on the street below. Maya opened her laptop and logged into my carrier account using the backup phone as a second factor. Her fingers moved fast. Mine hovered uselessly in my lap. "Okay," she said. "There was a SIM swap request logged this morning." My mouth went dry. "What does that mean?" "It means someone tried to move your number to a different SIM. If they'd succeeded, they could intercept your texts, reset passwords. But it didn't go through." "No," she said. "It was flagged and blocked, but it's not nothing. Attempt 1, call the carrier, lock everything down." We sat on hold together. The tinny instrumental looping like it was designed to sand down your nerves. When we finally got a human, Maya took the lead, voice crisp and calm. They verified my identity, added a PIN, noted the attempt, promised to monitor for suspicious activity. "Is there any way to see where the request came from?" Maya asked. "I'm sorry," the rep said. "We don't have that information." After we hung up, Maya leaned back in her chair and rubbed her eyes. "Okay, so someone knows enough about you to try a SIM swap. That narrows it." "To who?" "Anyone with access to your email, or enough personal info to bluff." Attempt 1 gave us a fence, not a solution. We turned to the camera feed from my apartment next. Maya had set it to upload to a private cloud folder. The thumbnail showed my bedroom in dull daylight, the bed unmade, the phone on the nightstand like a prop. "Nothing yet," she said, scrubbing through the timeline. "Which is either good or..." The feed froze. My heart jumped. What was that? She frowned. Probably Wi-Fi. The image pixelated, then snapped back. For a split second, the shadows looked wrong, stretched toward the camera like fingers. "There," I said. "Did you see?" She paused it, zoomed. The shadow resolved into the hanging edge of my coat, stirred by the heater kicking on. "See," she said, "your building's ancient." Misdirection, explained. My pulse took longer to come down than my brain. By mid-afternoon, exhaustion had set in. The adrenaline burns hot, then leaves you hollow. Maya made us grilled cheese. I burned my tongue and didn't care. Attempt 2, change everything. Emails, Apple ID, bank passwords. We did it methodically, checking devices, logging out sessions. My eyes ached from staring at screens. My jaw hurt from clenching. "Okay," Maya said finally. "We've closed most of the obvious doors." "Most," I echoed. She hesitated. "There's one more thing." I waited. "Your laptop," she said. "You said it stays at work sometimes." "Yeah, locked drawer." "Anyone else have access?" "No." She nodded, but her mouth was tight. "We should still check it." We drove downtown as dusk settled, the city sliding into that blue-gray phase where reflections double everything. My office building loomed, all glass and concrete. Security let us up after I badge swiped, the fluorescent lights humming like insects. At my desk, I woke my laptop. It took longer than usual, the fan whining. Maya leaned over my shoulder. "Check your login history." I did. My stomach dropped. There was a login from 2 nights ago. 3:14 a.m. from this machine. "That's impossible," I said. "It was here." "Are you sure?" she asked softly. Yes. She didn't argue. She just started pulling logs, scanning for remote access software. Attempt 2 revealed something worse. My own device in a locked office, showing activity when it shouldn't. Could it be a backup restore glitch? I asked, desperate. Maybe, she said, but the timing. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then at me. Ben. What? The camera feed. She turned the laptop toward me. My bedroom was dark now, lit only by the glow of the alarm clock. The phone on the nightstand was black, and then the screen lit up. Not the lock screen, the camera app. I felt dizzy, like the room had tilted. Is that live? I whispered. Yes, Maya said. Her voice was very steady. Someone's accessing it. The image shifted slowly, the angle changing. The camera was being lifted. My breath came shallow. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud as the office HVAC. Call the police, I said. I am, she said, already dialing. The feed showed the bedroom ceiling, then dipped. For a second, the lens caught a reflection in the closet mirror, a blur of movement. Oh my God, I said. Then the feed went black. Camera lost connection, Maya read. The police arrived 20 minutes later. 20 minutes of packing and explanations, and me rubbing my arms like I was cold. We drove back to my apartment with them, sirens off, the city quiet and watchful. The door was locked. The tape strip was torn. Inside, the place looked mostly the same. Mostly. The bed was disturbed, sheets pulled back like someone had leaned on it. The phone was gone. My phone, the one with the photos. A neighbor, Tom, mid-40s, beard, smelled like cigarettes, peeked out when the officers knocked. He said he'd heard a bang earlier, thought someone dropped furniture. They took statements, photos, bagged the torn tape. One officer, a woman with tired eyes, looked at me. You have somewhere else to stay tonight. Yes, I said automatically, though my brain was buzzing. Good, she said. Don't come back alone. After they left, Maya and I stood in the wrecked quiet of my apartment. The heater clicked. Somewhere, water ran. They took it, I said. Why not take anything else? Maya swallowed. Because it's not about your stuff. Back at her place, I collapsed on the couch. Sleep skittered around the edges, but wouldn't land. My backup phone buzzed near midnight. A new email from my own address. Subject line, you forgot one. Attached a photo. Me asleep on Maya's couch. Taken just minutes ago. My breath hitched. Maya, I said, my voice thin. She leaned over, saw the screen, and went very still. That's not possible, she said. We both looked around the apartment, the door, the windows, the quiet rooms. The trap tightened. Wherever this had started, it wasn't contained to my apartment anymore, and there was no way to pretend it was a glitch now. The email timestamp said 11:58 p.m. Maya's apartment was quiet in the way that only happens after you've been awake too long. No street noise, no pipes, just the refrigerator's low motor and the faint tick of the wall clock over the sink. I sat upright on the couch, my back aching, my eyes burning like I'd rubbed soap into them. The photo filled the backup phone screen. It was unmistakably me, on Maya's couch, the throw pillow with the frayed seam under my cheek. The angle was slightly above and to the right, like the camera had been mounted near the ceiling. Maya didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. She scanned the room slowly, her gaze moving with intent, not panic. When she finally talked, it was measured. "Okay," she said. "We assume physical presence until proven otherwise." My pulse thudded in my ears. "You think someone's here?" "I think someone was," she said. "And I think they didn't need to stay long." She walked to the front door and checked the lock. Still deadbolted. She pressed her palm flat against it, feeling for vibration, listening. "Nothing." "Lights," she said. We turned them all on. Kitchen, hallway, bedroom, bathroom. The apartment shrank under the glare, corners losing their softness. Every object took on a sharper outline, books aligned on the shelf, shoes by the door, a stack of mail on the counter. "Okay," she said again. "Ben, sit, don't move." I hated how relieved I felt obeying. She started at the living room, eyes tracking the ceiling line. She reached up and tugged lightly on the smoke detector. It didn't budge. "Is this new?" she asked. "No," I said. "At least, I don't know. It was here when you moved in, right?" She nodded, then frowned. "There should be two, one near the bedroom." We moved together slow. In the hallway, above the thermostat, was another white disc. Maya stood on a chair, twisted it. It came down too easily. Behind it, a small black lens stared back at us. For a beat, neither of us breathed. Then Maya swore, sharp, furious, and almost dropped it. She steadied herself, hands shaking now despite her control. "It's a camera," she said, "battery-powered, Wi-Fi." My vision tunneled. "How long?" "Doesn't matter," she said. "It matters that it's here." I stood too fast, dizziness washing over me. The room tilted, then righted. My heart felt like it was trying to climb out through my throat. "This explains the angle," I said stupidly. "The couch." "Yes," she said, "and your bedroom, the height." "Who?" The front door handle moved. Just a fraction, a testing jiggle. Maya's eyes snapped to mine. She held up a finger. The handle went still. Then, slowly, it turned. The door opened an inch. "Hey," a voice said, male, casual. "Maya, you okay?" I heard a noise. "Tom." My neighbor's beard flashed in my mind. Cigarettes. The way he'd lingered in the hallway sometimes, chatty when I was distracted. Maya stepped forward, positioning herself between me and the door. "We're fine," she said. Her voice was even. "What do you need?" Tom pushed the door open wider. He smiled when he saw us both, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just checking," he said. "Building been weird tonight." My lungs felt tight. "You live downstairs," I said. "How'd you get in?" He shrugged. "Door was unlocked." "It wasn't," Maya said. Silence stretched. The refrigerator hummed. Then Tom's gaze flicked to the camera in Maya's hand. Something in his face shifted, an almost imperceptible drop, like a mask slipping. "You shouldn't have touched that," he said. Maya moved without hesitation. She slammed the door shut and threw the deadbolt. Tom reacted fast, shoving back, the impact rattling the frame. "Call 911, she said over her shoulder. I fumbled with the phone, fingers clumsy, vision blurring. The door shuddered again. "You don't understand," Tom said, voice sharper now. "I didn't hurt anyone," the dispatcher answered. My voice came out thin and reedy as I gave the address. Maya grabbed a heavy lamp from the side table and braced it against the door. Her jaw was clenched so tight, I thought her teeth might crack. "Why, Ben," she shouted. There was a pause, then a breath. "Because he notices things," Tom said. "Because he locks his doors. Because he keeps lists." My stomach dropped. He'd been watching long before the photos. The door frame creaked. Wood splintered. I backed toward the kitchen, grabbed the first thing my hand hit, a metal pan. My arms trembled. The door gave way with a crack. Tom stumbled through, off balance, surprise flashing across his face when he saw the pan swing. I hit his shoulder, not hard enough. He grunted, lunged. Maya swung the lamp. It connected with his forearm. He cried out, staggered back, crashed into the coat rack. The cheap hooks tore free, coats raining down. He bolted for the hallway. "Don't chase," Maya said, breathless. Sirens wailed in the distance, far, but coming. Tom hesitated at the door, turned. For a second, I saw something like regret flicker there. Then he ran. The apartment was wrecked. The doorframe splintered. The smoke detector lay in pieces on the floor, its tiny camera dark. We stood there, shaking, listening to our own breathing, until the sirens grew loud enough to swallow everything else. The police came fast this time. Statements again. Evidence bagged. Tom was caught 2 blocks away, hiding behind a dumpster, the camera's SD card in his pocket. Later, hours later, when the adrenaline had burned off and left me hollow, an officer told us what they'd found. Tom had done maintenance work in my building years ago. He'd learned routines, copied keys, planted cameras, used compromised Wi-Fi and my exposed charging habits to slip into my accounts. He fixated, the officer said gently. "You weren't the first, but you were the one who noticed." By dawn, my head pounded and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Maya's arm was bruising purple where Tom had grabbed her. My shoulder throbbed from the pan's swing. We were alive, safe technically, but when I closed my eyes, I still felt watched, and I knew sleep wouldn't come easy again. The ER waiting room smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. It was almost morning, gray light bleeding through the high windows, the night shift winding down with the soft clatter of carts and murmured handoffs. A nurse wrapped Maya's forearm in a compression bandage, efficient and gentle. The bruise had bloomed overnight, deep purple with a sickly yellow edge already forming. "You'll feel it more tomorrow," the nurse said. "Ice today. Ibuprofen if you can tolerate it." Maya nodded, jaw tight. She thanked her, because Maya always thanked people, even when she was rattled. I sat 2 chairs away, my shoulder stiff, a paper cup of water sweating onto the vinyl seat between my knees. Every time the automatic doors slid open, my muscles jumped. I told myself it was just adrenaline wearing off, that it would pass. It didn't, not really. A police officer met us in the hallway afterward. He was younger than I expected, polite, tired. He explained the next steps, in a voice that sounded like he'd said the same words 100 times before. Restraining order paperwork. A follow-up with detectives. Digital forensics would take time. Weeks, maybe months. There would be a court date. We might be called to testify. Your stolen phone hasn't been recovered yet, he said, almost apologetic. But we seized storage devices. If there's anything else, we'll let you know. Anything else, like more photos, like videos. Maya squeezed my wrist when the officer left. It grounded me in a way I hadn't expected. I realized then how much of the night I'd spent not touching anything, like contact itself might give something away. Back at her apartment, the sun was up enough to make the damage visible. The door frame splintered. The smoke detector missing. Wires capped with electrical tape by a building maintenance guy who kept saying Jesus under his breath. Normal repairs, he called them. I called my boss from the kitchen, voice flat, told him I'd need time. He didn't ask questions. I appreciated that and resented it in equal measure. We slept in pieces, 20 minutes here, an hour there. I dreamed of light turning on and off, of angles. By afternoon, the building manager had taped a notice in the lobby about recent security concerns. Neighbors hovered, spoke in lowered voices. Tom's door downstairs was open, empty. The smell of cigarettes lingered anyway. Maya insisted I move my things out that day. Not everything, just enough. We boxed clothes, books, my laptop. Each item felt newly suspicious in my hands, like it might carry something with it if I wasn't careful. Maya labeled boxes in her neat block letters. The normalcy of it almost made me angry. At one point, she stopped and leaned against the counter, eyes closed. "Hey," I said. "I'm fine," she said immediately. Then, after a beat, "I will be." That was the closest she came to admitting how hard it had hit her. My apartment emptied out faster than I expected. When we were done, it echoed. The bed frame bare. The nightstand scarred where my phone had lived. I stood in the doorway, longer than I needed to. "Ben," Maya said gently. "I know," I said. I turned off the lights. I stayed with her for the next 2 weeks. We fell into a quiet routine. Work during the day. Long walks in the evening. Takeout eaten straight from containers because dishes felt like effort. Sometimes we talked about it, what had happened, what we'd missed. Sometimes we didn't. The detective called once to tell me Tom had confessed. He'd accessed other apartments over the years, planted cameras where he could, watched, escalated when people noticed. There were other victims. Some knew, some didn't. They'd found backups of the images. The detective asked if I wanted to see them. "No," I said too quickly. "No, thank you." "Understood," he said. I replaced my phone. New number, new accounts, 2-factor on everything. I stopped using public chargers, bought my own power bank like a talisman. At night, I slept facing the room, not the wall. The court date came and went. I sat in a hard chair and listened to lawyers talk about my life like it was a diagram. Tom didn't look at me. He looked smaller than I remembered, like the air had gone out of him. When it was over, Maya and I got coffee. Different place this time, quieter. So, she said, stirring her cup. What now? I thought about that. About my old apartment. About the way my body still tightened when a screen lit up unexpectedly. I don't know, I said. Normal, I guess. A new version. She nodded. That tracks. A month later, I moved into a different building across town. Higher floor, better locks. I met my neighbors and learned their names on purpose. Some nights, I wake up at 3-something anyway. No photos, no notifications, just the familiar glow of the clock and my own breathing. I lie there and listen to the building settling, to a car passing far below, to the ordinary sounds of a city that doesn't care what happened to me. Eventually, I sleep again. Mostly. Once, weeks later, I was scrolling through my new phone, deleting screenshots, when I noticed a folder I didn't remember making. Empty. No thumbnails. Just a name I didn't recall typing. Archive. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it, emptied the trash, restarted the phone. The screen came back clean. I set it face down on the nightstand and turned off the light. The room was quiet, quiet enough to hear my own pulse, steady now, almost normal. The shadows fade for now, but the stories never end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and join our community of horror lovers. If you're hungry for more, check out the next video. Just remember, the scariest part is often the one you don't see coming. Welcome back to Mia Horror Stories. Tonight's tale, My Reflection Does Follow Me Anymore, is best experienced in the dark, which is why the screen will stay black. No distractions, no flashing images, just you, your imagination, and the story. So sit back, relax, and listen all the way to the end, if you dare. The first time it happened, I blamed the lighting. It was that late winter kind of light you get in New York City when the sun is technically up, but the day still feels like it's holding its breath. My bathroom window faced a narrow air shaft, brick on 3 sides, someone's old satellite dish jutting out like a bent spoon. The overhead fixture buzzed faintly, cheap LED that had started to complain when it warmed up, and the mirror had a thin fog of toothpaste speckle, no matter how often I wiped it. I was already running late. I had the electric toothbrush in my mouth, elbow on the sink, and I was half watching myself, half watching the clock on my phone propped against the soap dispenser. There was a beat where my reflection didn't move, not in a dramatic way, not like it turned its head or smiled when I didn't, just a tiny mismatch, like a lag in a video call. My wrist lifted. I saw my actual wrist lift in my peripheral vision. But in the mirror, the toothbrush hand hesitated, an eyelash of time, then caught up. I froze, toothbrush buzzing against my molars, the sound suddenly too loud in that small room. The kind of loud where you realize the walls are thin, and there are neighbors on the other side, and you've been living alone long enough that you forget other people can hear you. I leaned closer to the glass. My eyes looked normal. Tired, sure. A little red around the rims from too much screen time. The faint crease between my brows that had gotten used to after 30. I lifted my left hand and waggled my fingers. This time it matched. Okay, I said around the toothbrush, which came out as okay, and sounded like I was talking to a dog. I spat, rinsed, and tried to laugh at myself. The faucet rattled when I turned it off, a loose washer I kept telling myself I'd fix. The mirror was old, probably original to the pre-war building, its edges darkened under the glass, where silvering had started to go. I'd noticed that when I moved in a kind of permanent bruise around the perimeter, and I'd thought charming, vintage, like I was in a movie where people wore nice coats and bought bread from corner shops and had problems that were poetic. The laugh didn't really land. It stayed in my throat, half-formed. I dried my hands on the towel that always smelled faintly of detergent, and underneath it, something sour, because I kept forgetting to wash it often enough, because I kept thinking I'd have time later. I checked my phone. 8:12. My meeting with Nina started at 8:45, and she lived 2 avenues over, and the MTA didn't care about my calendar. I grabbed my jacket, patted my pockets for keys, and called, "Milo, you coming?" A muffled thump came from the living room, then a small chirp that could have been a bird if you didn't know Milo. He was a rescue cat with a knack for making any normal sound feel like he was narrating a documentary about himself. I heard his paws skitter on the hardwood like little dry brushes. When I stepped into the hallway, the building smelled like someone's burnt toast and old radiator heat. My neighbor's door across the hall, 5B, was cracked the width of a finger. Light spilled out, warm and yellow. "Morning," a voice called. I stopped without meaning to. I had learned, in New York, to pretend you didn't hear half the things you heard. People talked to themselves. People argued with imaginary enemies. People sang. But this was normal. A woman's face appeared in the crack. Marion Leach, 62, female. She moved into 5B a month after me, and had since appointed herself the hallway's unofficial weather service and package monitor. Her hair was silver and clipped short, her cheeks always a little flushed, like she'd been walking fast even when she hadn't. There were reading glasses perched on top of her head, like she was about to put them on at any second. "You're up early," she said. "Always up early," I lied. "Work." She made a sympathetic noise and opened her door a bit more. I could see a pile of mail on a small table behind her and something simmering on her stove. Onions, maybe. The building was a stack of other people's routines like that. Coffee, soap, cooking, someone's laundry venting out a window. "You get your heat fixed?" she asked. "Heat's fine," I said. It's the bathroom light that's acting up." "Old wiring," she said immediately, pleased to have an explanation. "These buildings, honey, they hum and sputter like they're alive. My grandson says I should move to a new place with amenities. But then what would I complain about?" She smiled. It was a good smile. A smile that made you feel like you were part of the building's little community, even if you didn't know anyone's last name. "Right," I said, and shifted my tote bag higher on my shoulder. The strap cut a thin line into my jacket. "I should," she pointed with her chin toward the stairwell. "Don't take the elevator. It's been making that noise again, like someone dragging a chair. I heard it at 2 in the morning. "Great," I said, but it came out too flat. Her smile thinned as she studied me. "You okay?" I almost told her about the mirror. Not because I thought she'd fix it, because saying something out loud sometimes turns it back into something ordinary. A flicker, bad sleep, cheap LEDs. Instead I said, "Just didn't sleep much," she said, and the sympathy returned, folding over me like a scarf. "Too much worry is a hobby in this city." That landed uncomfortably close to the truth. I nodded, and she let me go. Down the stairs, the building's pipes clicked behind the walls. Someone's phone vibrated on a counter in some other apartment, a mosquito buzz that came and went. At the lobby, I pushed through the heavy glass door and stepped onto the sidewalk. Cold air slapped me awake. Not dramatic, just honest. The kind that dries your nose and makes the inside of your throat feel slightly raw. A delivery truck idled at the curb, diesel and exhaust mixing with the smell of a bakery vent somewhere down the block. A man in a knit cap walked past with a paper cup of coffee, eyes forward like he was in a hurry to get away from his own thoughts. I headed toward the subway, boots tapping on concrete patched 100 times. I checked my phone again. Still 8:12, but the seconds had moved. Normal. The world was behaving. Then I passed a storefront window. It was a narrow glass pane next to a locksmith, set low enough that it caught you in full. I only glanced because the glass was bright and clean, and because I had an old habit from growing up with braces. Check teeth, check hair, check you don't look like a mess. My reflection was there, me, jacket, tote bag, hair still damp at the roots. And it was late. Not missing. Not wrong in a way you could point at like a broken bone. It was simply behind by a fraction. Like the glass had become a screen with poor refresh rate. My right foot landed. In the glass, my right foot hadn't quite finished landing yet. I stopped so fast a woman almost walked into me. Jesus, she snapped, and shouldered past with the practiced irritation of someone used to obstacles. My heart made a stupid leap, then settled into a hard, fast rhythm. I stepped closer to the window, pretending to check something in my bag, just to get an excuse to look. The glass showed me in the same posture, but not perfectly. My hand moved in my real-world fingers tightening on the tote strap, and in the window, it followed half a beat later. A train rumbled underground, felt more than heard. The locksmith's neon open sign buzzed. Somewhere above, a radiator vented steam with a short hiss like a sigh. I swallowed and forced myself to do what I always did when something made no sense. Inventory. Could be the angle, could be my eyes, could be the glass itself, a double pane with some weird distortion. Could be I was more tired than I thought. I'd been pushing long hours at the firm, working on a compliance review that had turned into a slow-moving swamp. My boss liked to say, just one more pass, the way gamblers like to say, just one more hand. I lifted my hand again. Fingers spread. Wave. The reflection lifted its hand. Just late. My phone vibrated. I jumped and fumbled it out of my pocket like it was a hot thing. Nina, you up, running behind. Can we do 9:15 instead? Relief flashed through me, plain, simple relief at being pulled back into something normal. Nina was late. Nina was always late. I could be annoyed. I could be accommodating. I could be human. I typed back with my thumbs that felt clumsy in the cold. Sure, I'm near the station. Want me to grab you coffee? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. My reflection in the window stared at my phone a beat after I did. I felt suddenly exposed, standing there in public, watching myself like I was looking for cracks. People flowed around me like water around a rock. No one cared. No one would notice if my reflection was doing cartwheels. They were trying to get to work. They were trying to survive. The thought came uninvited, sharp as a pin. What if it's not the glass? I could go down into the subway and pretend this was nothing. I could keep moving, keep my day intact, keep my world behaving on paper. Or I could do the other thing, the thing I almost never let myself do, because it made me feel weak and irrational, and like I was inviting problems to take up residence. I could turn around, go back upstairs, stand in front of my bathroom mirror again in better light and test it, video it, prove it to myself. Nina's reply buzzed in. Nina, yes PLS. Oat milk. Also, are you okay? You sound off. I stared at the message until the words blurred slightly. Not from tears, just from the way my eyes wanted to protect my brain from having to choose. My private fear, the one I didn't tell people because it sounded melodramatic, pulsed under my ribs, that if I stopped moving for even a second, the thin story of my life, work, friends, rent, routines would split, and something messy and unfixable would leak through. I looked at the subway entrance. I looked back at the direction of my building. In the window, my reflection followed, late by a breath. I took one step toward the subway. Then I stopped. I turned back toward home. I made it back to my building in under 10 minutes, which meant I walked faster than was smart and didn't notice my breathing until it was already shallow and high in my chest. The glass door stuck the way it always did. I shoved harder than necessary, and it swung open with a muted bang that echoed up the stairwell. Inside, the lobby lights flickered once, then steadied. The radiator hissed. Someone's radio murmured behind a door on the first floor news, the rhythm of a voice used to being ignored. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Halfway up to 5, my phone buzzed again. Nina, you disappear. Went back home. Something weird, call me. I typed, then immediately regretted the lack of explanation. I hit send anyway. The call came through before I reached my door. What's wrong? Nina asked, skipping hello. Her voice grounded me in a way I hadn't realized I needed. Nina had a habit of being late and underprepared, but when something actually mattered, she locked in. She was 31, sharp as a tack, and allergic to nonsense, including her own. I think I stopped with my key halfway to the lock. The hallway light buzzed overhead. I think something's wrong with my mirror. There was a pause, not the dramatic kind, the practical kind where someone decides how much patience to spend. Okay, she said. Wrong how? It's lagging. Like my reflection is a half second behind. Another pause, longer this time. You hit your head, she asked. No. Are you sick? No. Did you sleep? Not much. Are you standing right now? I leaned my forehead briefly against my door, the cool wood seeping into my skin. Yes. Sit down. I'm outside my apartment. Go inside. Sit. If you feel dizzy, call 911. I don't feel dizzy. You sound like you do. I unlocked the door and stepped into my apartment. Milo wove around my ankles, meowing like he'd been abandoned for days instead of 40 minutes. I'm inside, I said. I'm fine. Do you smell anything weird? Nina asked. Gas, chemicals, burning. I paused, inhaled deliberately. Coffee grounds, cat food, the faint mildew note from the bathroom I kept meaning to bleach. No. Okay, she said, and I could hear her moving now, keys, maybe, or shoes. I'm coming over. You don't have to, I'm already late. I can be late in your apartment as easily as a cafe. I didn't argue. That was another private flaw of mine, relief disguised as independence. I hung up and dropped my bag on the chair. The bathroom was at the end of the short hall. The door was open. The light was off. I stood in the living room and looked at the dark rectangle of it, suddenly aware of how quiet my place was. Not ominous quiet, just the ordinary hush of an apartment sealed up against winter, broken by Milo's purring and the distant city hum that filtered through the windows. Okay, I said to no one. We're doing this like an adult. I turned on the bathroom light. The mirror greeted me with my own face, slightly washed out under the LED glare. I stepped closer, heart steady enough. I lifted my hand. This time, the lag was obvious, not dramatic, still not a horror movie thing, but undeniable in the way of a dropped stitch. You can't unsee once you've spotted it. My fingers rose. In the mirror, they followed just a fraction later, enough that my brain tripped over it. "Oh," I said. It came out small. I tested again. Faster, slower. I tilted my head. The reflection tracked me, obedient but delayed. "Jesus," I muttered. I grabbed my phone and switched to video. The camera app opened without fuss. I aimed it at the mirror and hit record, narrating like a lawyer documenting a scene. "Okay," I said. "It's 8:34 a.m. Tuesday. This is my bathroom mirror." I lifted my hand into frame and waved. On the screen, the delay was there too, but worse. The phone camera added its own fraction of processing lag, stacking it on top of whatever the mirror was doing. The effect made my stomach tighten. I stopped recording and scrubbed back, watched again. It wasn't subtle anymore. "Great," I whispered. "That's great." A knock sounded at the door. I jumped, nearly dropping the phone. Nina came in with a blast of cold air and a paper bag tucked under her arm. She had her hair in a low knot and wore the same coat she always did, the lining frayed at the cuffs. Her eyes went immediately to my face. "Show me," she said. I led her down the hall without ceremony. She leaned over the sink, squinting at the mirror like it was a trick image. "Do it again." I lifted my hand. Nina's mouth tightened. Right. Okay," she said slowly. "First thought, this mirror is garbage. It's been fine for 2 years. Everything is fine until it's not." She reached out and tapped the glass with her knuckle. It made a dull, thick sound. "Is it loose?" She tugged at the edge. It didn't budge. "Could be the light flicker messing with your perception," she went on, already in problem-solving mode. "Or your eyes." "Or my eyes wouldn't affect the phone video," I said. She didn't like that. I saw it in the way her jaw set. "Okay," she said. "Let's test another mirror." We went into the bedroom. The closet door had a full-length mirror attached, newer, cleaner. Nina stood beside me this time, watching both me and the glass. I moved. The lag was there too. Nina exhaled through her nose. "Okay, that's not ideal. What if it's me?" I asked before I could stop myself. "Like neurological." She turned to me fully then. "Hey, no spiraling." "I'm not spiraling. You're cataloging your own failure modes," she said, "which is spiraling adjacent." I laughed, a short, brittle sound. "I don't have time for this." "There it is," she said quietly. My phone buzzed on the bed. "Unknown number," I frowned. "I don't answer those." "Answer it," Nina said. "If it's spam, hang up." I answered on speaker. "Hello," static, then a voice, male, calm, professional in the way that always makes you listen. "Is this Alex?" he asked. My stomach dropped at the sound of my name. I hadn't given it to Nina yet, hadn't given it to anyone that morning. "Yes," I said. "Who is this?" "This is Officer Daniel Ruiz with the NYPD," he said. "I'm calling regarding a report from a local business." Nina's eyes snapped to mine. "What kind of report?" I asked. "A locksmith on your block has exterior security cameras," Ruiz said. "This morning, their system flagged a discrepancy. A timestamp mismatch involving you." I sat down hard on the edge of the bed. "A mismatch how?" Nina asked, leaning toward the phone. Ruiz paused. "According to the footage, there's a delay between your physical movements and your reflection in the storefront glass. The owner thought the camera was malfunctioning, but it appears consistent across multiple angles." The room felt suddenly too small. "Why are you calling me?" I asked. "Because the same camera also shows someone else," Ruiz said. "Someone moving where your reflection should be. It's probably a glitch. But we'd like you to come down to the precinct to take a look." Nina stared at me, her expression gone very still. "And," Ruiz added, "because that footage was from 30 minutes ago and our system just updated. There's new footage from 5 minutes ago." My throat went dry. "From where?" "From your building's lobby camera," he said, "which suggests this is time sensitive." I looked at the mirror across the room. My reflection sat on the bed with me. It didn't blink when I did. We took the stairs down together, fast, but not running, the way people do when they're trying not to draw attention. My building's stairwell curved tight, the paint on the walls layered thick from decades of touch-ups. I kept my eyes on the steps, counting them out of habit, because counting was something I could control. At the bottom, the lobby smelled sharper than usual cleaner and something acrid underneath. Bleach, maybe. A wet floor sign stood crooked near the mailboxes. Someone had mopped recently, leaving dull streaks that caught the overhead fluorescence. "Okay," Nina murmured. "Where were you when you got the call?" "Bedroom," I said. "Why?" She gestured toward the glass entrance door. "Because if there's new footage from 5 minutes ago, it's probably from here." I didn't want to look at the glass. That felt childish, but it was true. I could handle mirrors when I was braced for them. Storefronts, bathroom sinks, places where reflections belonged. The lobby door was too casual, too public. Officer Ruiz was already there. He stood near the security console behind the front desk, jacket unzipped, hands relaxed at his sides. Mid-30s, maybe. Brown hair cut short, eyes alert, but not alarmed. The kind of cop who looked like he listened more than he talked. "Alex," he said, recognizing me immediately. "Thanks for coming down." Nina stayed half a step behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat from her coat sleeve. Ruiz nodded to her. "This your friend?" "Yes," she said before I could answer. "I'm Nina." He gestured toward the monitor. "Mind taking a look?" The screen showed the lobby from 2 angles, one wide shot of the entrance, one tighter on the mailboxes. The timestamps ran in the corner. Ruiz scrubbed back. "There," he said. "On screen, I entered the lobby earlier that morning, pushing the glass door open. The footage was grainy, but clear enough to recognize my jacket, my bag." "Pause," Nina said. Ruiz paused at mid-step. I leaned closer despite myself. My on-screen self was frozen with one foot forward. "Play it frame by frame," Nina said. Ruiz did. The footage advanced in jerks. My body moved. My reflection in the glass door followed. Late, not by much, but enough that you could see it if you were looking for it. Enough that once you saw it, it was all you could see. "That's weird," Ruiz said, not for effect, just stating a fact. "What about the other thing you mentioned?" I asked. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Ruiz hesitated, then rewound further. "This part," he played it again. For a second, nothing jumped out. Then Nina inhaled sharply. "There," she said. In the reflection, my reflection, there was a smear, a shape that didn't match the geometry of the lobby. For one frame, it looked like a person standing where I was. My pulse hammered. "That's it," I said. "That's what you meant." Ruiz held up a hand. "Watch the next frames." He advanced. The shape slid, stretched, then snapped back into alignment with me. "It's refraction," he said. "The door glass is laminated. There's a seam. When the angle changes, it doubles the image." Nina let out a breath. Okay. My knees felt weak with relief and embarrassment all at once. I hadn't even realized how tightly I'd been bracing. So, I said, the reflection lag is still there, but the extra person is. Correct, Ruiz said, which is good news. He didn't say it fixed anything. Can we rule out the camera system? Nina asked. We checked, Ruiz said. Timecode S synced. No dropped frames. Could it be you? Nina asked me gently. Like your perception. I shook my head. You saw it too. I know, she said. I just want to exhaust the boring explanations. Ruiz cleared his throat. There's one more thing. Of course there was. He pulled up another clip. This one from 5 minutes ago. The lobby was empty. The door closed. The wet floor sign still crooked. Then the door opened. I stepped in. Behind me, still attached, still unmistakably me, my reflection entered a fraction later. But this time, the delay was longer, noticeably longer. Why is it worse? I asked. Ruiz's jaw tightened. That's why I called. Nina checked her watch. Okay, next step. Hospital. I'm not going to the ER, I said immediately. Alex, she said. I'm not sitting under fluorescent lights for 6 hours waiting to be told I'm anxious. Ruiz didn't contradict me. We could do a field sobriety style check, he offered. Reflexes, pupils, balance. Here, I asked. Right here. I agreed because saying no felt like backing away from a cliff edge I couldn't see. The tests were mundane and humiliating. Follow the pen with your eyes. Touch your nose. Walk heel to toe across the lobby tiles, which were uneven enough to trip anyone. I passed. Vitals are fine, Ruiz said. No slurred speech. No disorientation. So now what? I asked. He glanced at the glass door again. We need more data. Different surfaces. Different lighting. Nina's eyes lit with a terrible idea. The subway. My stomach dropped. No, Alex, she said. It's wall-to-wall reflective surfaces. Stainless steel, windows, turnstiles, and cameras everywhere. And crowds, I said, and delays. That's the point. Ruiz hesitated. I can escort you partway. Keep things calm. I thought of my private fear again, the one about stopping, about things unraveling. I was already unraveling. The only way out was through. Fine, I said. We walked the 2 blocks to the station, the city pressing in close. I became hyper-aware of every reflective surface, parked cars, darkened shop windows, even puddles from last night's melted snow. At the turnstiles, Nina watched my reflection in the steel while I watched her face. Still lagging, she said. About half a second now. On the platform, a train roared past without stopping, wind snapping my jacket against my legs. Sound vibrated through my bones. This was the misdirection moment, the one that almost broke me. In the train's black windows, my reflection fractured into a dozen overlapping versions of myself, each delayed differently. It looked like I was multiplying, peeling apart. I staggered back. Alex, Nina said sharply. Look at me. I did. It's the windows, she said. The train's moving. The reflections are layered. Breathe. I did. In, out. The train pulled away. The reflections collapsed back into one. I laughed, a little hysterically. Okay, that one's on me. But the lag didn't go away. On the platform bench, I sat down hard. My legs ached. My head throbbed. I realized I hadn't eaten anything since yesterday afternoon. I can't keep doing this, I said quietly. Nina crouched in front of me. You don't have to alone. Ruiz's radio crackled. He listened, then swore under his breath. What? I asked. There's a power fluctuation reported in your building, he said. Elevator stalled between floors. Fire departments en route. My stomach sank. Marion, he nodded. She was last seen entering the elevator this morning. A choice slammed into place, heavy and final. If I went back to my building now, into a stalled elevator, into enclosed metal and mirrored walls, there would be no pretending this was academic. If I didn't, someone else would pay the price for my hesitation. I'm going back, I said. Nina grabbed my arm. Alex, I know, I said. I can't not. The point of no return didn't feel dramatic. It felt like stepping off a curb without looking. The fire truck was already there when we got back, red lights stuttering against the brick like a bad pulse. Yellow tape cut the lobby in half. The smell of ozone hung in the air, sharp and metallic, layered over the bleach from earlier. Which floor? Ruiz asked a firefighter. Between 4 and 5, the firefighter said. Cars dead. Emergency lights only. My chest tightened. 4 and 5. Marion's floor. I'm going up, I said. Nina grabbed my sleeve. Alex, I know, I said, I know, but she talked to me this morning. Ruiz looked between us, then nodded once. Stairs only. Don't touch anything you don't have to. The stairwell felt narrower than it had an hour ago. The paint flakes caught at my palms as I used the railing to pull myself faster. Somewhere above, metal groaned, a long, tired sound. We reached the 4th floor landing. The elevator doors there were closed, but the seam between them glowed faintly with emergency light. Marion, I called a beat then. I'm here, her voice was steady. Too steady. I'm okay, she added quickly, like she knew what I'd hear in the pause. We're here, Nina said. Fire department's working on it. They keep telling me that, Marion said. I believe them. The firefighters pried the outer doors open enough to see the car stuck a few feet above the landing. The inner car door was closed. Through the narrow gap, I could see the elevator's interior wall brushed steel, scuffed with decades of rings and keys. A mirror. My reflection stared back at me from it. Late. The lag had stretched into something obscene. I lifted my hand and counted under my breath 1, 2 before the reflection followed. It was like watching a thought arrive after the feeling had already passed. Alex, Nina said softly. Don't. I have to, I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. A firefighter leaned toward the gap. Ma'am, we're going to open the car door manually. It may take a minute. I'm not panicking, Marion said. I just don't like not knowing what's happening. I swallowed. Marion, I said, keeping my eyes on her, not the mirror. Can you hear me? Yes. Don't look at the walls, I said. Just look at me, okay. There was a pause, then, quietly, all right. The firefighter started cranking the manual release. Metal protested. The car shuddered. My reflection moved. Not wrong, not monstrous, just off. When I leaned forward, it didn't lean, it watched. When I stepped back, it stepped, but too late, like it had decided after the fact. My heart slammed. My hands shook. Alex, Ruiz said, close now. Talk to me. I think it's feedback, I said. The words tumbled out. Visual feedback. Like when a microphone squeals because it hears itself. Nina's eyes flicked to the mirror, then back to me. So what do? We break the loop, I said. That mirror is part of the elevator car, a firefighter said. We don't. I'll do it, I said, already moving. Alex, Nina snapped. I didn't answer. I grabbed the fire extinguisher off the wall with both hands. It was heavier than I expected. My wrists screamed. Ma'am, the firefighter warned. I'm sorry, I said to no one in particular, and swung. The glass didn't shatter cleanly. Spiderwebbed with a gunshot crack, then collapsed inward in chunks, raining down with a sound like hail on a tin roof. Shards skittered across the car floor. The reflection vanished. So did my balance. I pitched forward, foot slipping on the landing edge. Hands grabbed me, Ruiz, Nina, someone else, and hauled me back as my shins slammed into the metal doorframe. Pain flared hot and immediate. Inside the car, Marion gasped. Oh my. Ma'am, stay back, the firefighter said, firm. We're almost there. The car lurched, then dropped an inch with a stomach-turning thud. The inner door finally peeled open. Marion stepped out slowly, clutching her purse like it was a life raft. Her eyes went to the broken mirror, the glass on the floor. What on earth? She said. You're safe, Nina said, guiding her away. That's what matters. I slid down the wall and sat, shaking. My leg throbbed. Blood seeped through my jeans in a dark bloom. Ruiz crouched in front of me. Stay with me. I am, I said, though my teeth chattered. Is it? I glanced toward the car. The broken mirror reflected nothing, just jagged light. The firefighters finished securing the elevator. Someone wrapped my leg. Someone else pressed a paper cup of water into my hands. The adrenaline drained, leaving me hollowed out. They took Marion downstairs. She squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Thank you, she said, eyes shining. I don't know what you did, but thank you. I nodded, unable to speak. Later time blurred, then reassembled. They put me in the back of an ambulance. Not lights and sirens, just careful. Nina rode with me, her knee bouncing, fingers tight around mine. In the ambulance's small mirrored cabinet, my reflection moved when I did. On time, I laughed, then hissed when it pulled at my leg. The sound came out broken. You okay? Nina asked. I think so, I said. I think it stopped. She watched me, searching. At what cost? I looked down at my leg. At the dried blood. At the tremor I couldn't quite control. I don't know yet, I said honestly. The doors closed. The city noise dulled. The ride began. In the metal surface above me, my reflection followed, faithful now, but changed. We both were. The hospital stitched me up and sent me home with instructions printed in gray ink that smelled faintly of toner and disinfectant. 12 stitches along the shin. No fracture. Avoid strenuous activity, the resident said. Like that was a reasonable request. He asked me how I fell. I told him I slipped during a rescue. That was true enough. He didn't ask what I'd rescued. Nina stayed until they discharged me, then walked me back to my apartment, slow because of my leg, slower because neither of us wanted to say goodbye yet. The building looked the same from the outside, brick, tired cornices, a banner advertising a yoga studio 2 blocks down. But inside it felt rearranged, like furniture moved an inch to the left. The elevator was taped off. A handwritten sign said out of service, PARTSON order. Someone had drawn a sad face in the corner. Marion's door was open. She sat at her small table with a cup of tea, wrapped in a cardigan that looked older than me. When she saw us, she stood, then thought better of it and waved. They told me to take it easy, she said, as if apologizing for being alive. Imagine that. You okay? Nina asked. Marion nodded, a little shaken. But my grandson's coming by tonight. She looked at me, then away. I keep thinking about that sound the glass made. I did too. The crack that wasn't a shatter, the way the mirror had given up all at once. I'm sorry about your elevator, I said. She patted my hand. It's just a thing. You did a brave thing. Then, more quietly, you should get some rest. Back upstairs, my apartment smelled like cat food and the lemon cleaner Nina favored. She set my pain meds on the counter in a careful line, like an offering. Milo inspected my bandage with suspicion and then settled on my chest, heavy and warm. The first night, I didn't sleep much. That wasn't new. What was new was the way I kept the bathroom door open, the light on, so the mirror couldn't surprise me. When I finally did get up to pee at 3 in the morning, I moved slowly, testing each motion like a swimmer entering cold water. The mirror followed me. On time, I lifted my hand. It lifted with me. I blinked. It blinked back. The LED still buzzed faintly. The silvering was still dark at the edges. Everything was ordinary in the way of objects that had always been slightly wrong, but never dangerous. I filmed it again. The phone showed what my eyes saw. No lag. I sent the video to Nina with a single word, normal. She replied with a heart, and then, 10 minutes later, get sleep. The legal part came next. Officer Ruiz called to take a statement. He asked me to walk him through the morning again, slow this time. He asked what I'd noticed first, where I'd been standing, whether I'd felt dizzy or confused. Just tired, I said. He made a sound that wasn't agreement. The locksmith's cameras are being recalibrated. The building manager's filing an insurance claim for the elevator. He paused. We're not charging you for the mirror. That's generous, I said. You saved someone, he said. Also, it's hard to put intent on breaking something during a rescue. When he left, I sat on my couch and stared at the blank TV screen until my own reflection stared back. The black glass did the thing black glass does. It gave yourself darker and slightly farther away. Still on time. At work, they told me to take the rest of the week. My boss said liability and focus on recovery, which meant he didn't want to be the person who'd pushed someone with stitches to keep working. I spent the days on the couch, leg elevated, pain dull and manageable, the city pressing against the windows like always. Nina came by every day with groceries and updates, and a fierce competence that felt like shelter. On Thursday, she sat cross-legged on the floor and asked, gently, "Are you scared?" "Yes," I said without thinking. "Of what?" I searched for the word. "Of stopping." She nodded like that made sense. "You stopped this time." I looked at my leg. The stitches itched. It stopped me. That still counts. By the weekend, the building had replaced the elevator mirror with a dull panel of brushed metal that showed nothing clearly. The manager posted a notice about temporary measures. The stairs grew busier. People complained. Life adjusted. I tested myself the way people do when they've been rattled. Store windows, car doors, the dark screen of my phone. I watched for the hitch, the breath of delay. It didn't come. The absence became its own noise, like the high-pitched whine you only hear when it stops. On Sunday evening, I stood at my kitchen sink, rinsing a mug, watching the city through the window over the counter. The glass there wasn't meant to reflect. It caught you by accident. A ghost layered over fire escapes and lit rectangles. I turned my head. For a fraction of a second, my reflection didn't. It was so small I almost missed it. So plausible I could have blamed my eyes. The kind of thing you could live with if you wanted to. My heart kicked, then settled. I set the mug down carefully. I didn't test it again. I didn't raise my hand. I watched the city instead, the way a bus sighed at the corner, the way someone laughed too loud 2 floors down, the way the radiator ticked like a watch that needed winding. When Nina texted dinner, I typed back yes and hit send. In the bathroom, the light buzzed. The mirror waited. I turned it off. And that's the end of today's chilling tale. If you enjoyed this story and want more nights full of suspense, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and turn on the bell so you never miss a scare. I've got plenty more stories waiting for you, so stick around and check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, And until next time, stay safe and don't look behind you.